everyone, my name is Alpha. Welcome to plummysims and welcome to another speed build. I hope you are all doing well and having such a wonderful day. So today we are building something special because today we're building another traditional house from Indonesia because I'm from Indonesia, and this is actually my second time building traditional house, and I was very surprised by the whole response from the first traditional house that I made called Omah Joglo. I will link it in the description box below and on the iCard if you want to watch that after this video. But today, actually August 17th, is the Independence Day of Indonesia, and by this day we are officially 76 years old. That sounds really old, but I know there are a lot of other countries that way older than us. But anyway, today we are building another traditional house from this actually is very popular in Indonesia, but this traditional house is called Rumah Rakit Limas, which translated into English as Pyramid Raft House. That sounds ridiculous, but I will put every single foreign or Indonesian words every single time I say it, just so we're on the same page. But anyway, this house is actually from the Bangka Belitung Islands, and Indonesia is actually an archipelago. I have mentioned this on my first traditional house, but in case you haven't watched that, let me just explain it to you again. Indonesia is a country that has so many islands. We have more than 16,000 islands, which is a lot, and this traditional house is from the kind of a group of islands, tiny group of islands called Bangka Belitung. And Bangka Belitung Islands is actually located in the east part of Sumatra. So Indonesia has 5 different larger islands, and we have so many very teeny tiny islands, and Bangka Belitung is one of them. So actually Bangka Belitung has 2 main islands, 2 bigger islands, and they have hundreds of tiny islands. Most of them are unpopulated yet. So actually we have a ton of islands that are unpopulated. So it's a common thing here in Indonesia to have this many islands that basically has no people on the island, because mostly we live in the bigger islands. But anyway, this traditional house is actually kind of floating above the river, if that makes sense. So we have this kind of a floating neighborhoods, I would say. We have obviously floating market. I mean, I've been to one of the floating market in Thailand, and I think floating market is kind of common here in Southeast Asia. I could be totally wrong about that, but I've been to one of the floating market in Thailand, and I think we have also several different floating markets here in Indonesia, but mostly are in the not in the city, I think so. But I decided to build this because I was very intrigued to build a Toraja house, which I just wanted to execute it really well, but I couldn't because the roofing is so hard. I tried for 2 hours, like no joke. I tried for the second time and it took me 2 hours to kind of figure out the roofing because I have to practice first before I kind of hop off to build something, and I didn't success because I think it's very common to have this kind of like crazy organic roofing shape and style in Indonesia, I mean in a traditional house, and I couldn't implement that to The Sims because there are so many things that I think it could be working with some like crazy tool mod action. But I use tool mod, don't get me wrong, but I'm not a pro in tool mod, and it's just really hard for me to kind of figure out the whole roofing. And again, I will show you the image of Toraja house. It's one of the coolest traditional houses in Indonesia, I assure you. I just love it so much. And actually I once tried to build a Honai house from Papua, and it's just impossible because it has this like very smooth round shape, and we don't have round walls. I mean, yes, I did watch some tutorials on YouTube on how to build the perfect round walls, but it looks so wrong when I tried it, and I just scraped that idea off because I just want to build something that looks good. And for me, when I tried it, it's just far from good. It's actually really, really bad. So I scraped that idea off, and I legit Googled on every single traditional house in Indonesia, and I took notes. So I kind of like list which traditional house it's possible and which one that's just I have to throw the idea to build that, because most of them are really, really cool, but I couldn't build that like at all. It's too organic and too wild to build in The Sims. I bet it's actually possible, but I couldn't figure out how to build that. So I scraped that idea off, and actually when I first kind of like tried the Toraja house, I also tried to build this Balinese temple, but Bali is very, very popular, and I just don't want to build something that's very popular internationally. I mean, the only reason why people know about Indonesia is Bali, and most people used to not know that Bali is Indonesia. So yeah, I just don't want to build something that's very popular. I tried that, it looks fine, but I just want to build something that's very unpopular, because the last one I built was Omahjoglo, and it's actually one of the most popular traditional house in Indonesia, because Javanese is actually one of the most popular tribes in Indonesia, I would say. But I just want to build something that's not very common, you know. So I decided to build this house, and actually I am not sure if this is an exact replica of that house. So if you are from either Bangka or Belitung, or I don't know, maybe somewhere around Bangka Belitung, please forgive me if this is not very exact. I'm so sorry, but when I googled this up, I only found like this photo of like the house from the outside, and I couldn't find the like floor plan and any articles about it. It's just very rare. The resources that I found is very limited, and even until now, that's just really, really sad for me, because I just wanted to build this so badly, and I couldn't. But I did my best, even though this was I don't think this is the most accurate ones. I think my Omahjoglo ones is a bit more accurate. I mean, design wise, style wise, and like everything wise, because I know how it looks, and it's just so popular. We have so many articles that I can learn with, but with this house I couldn't. So I have to wing it, and yeah, this is the best I could do. So we actually built this first on Hanford on Bagley on 50 by 50 lot, I think, because I thought that it's just look better if I have this kind of like a crazy pond or pool area around the house, but it just doesn't look right, because I don't know, maybe the vibe is just not there. It's just not blended with the whole house. I mean, the house itself looks very tropical, and with Hanford on Bagley, it's not very tropical. It's far from tropical. So I decided to save it to my library and download it and placed it actually on this 50 by 50 lot, I think, in Sulani. So yeah, that's how I built this. And I used a ton of packs on this build. I am so sorry, because I just wanted to build something that's very traditional but very colorful. And I know this is not the exact style, but this is just the best I could do. I couldn't get enough research. I did some research like for the past, I don't know, like more than a week, like literally research everything, but I just couldn't find enough resources. So I'm so sorry again if you are a Sumatran or maybe a Bangka Belitungese. I'm so sorry, and Speaking of which, I've actually been to Bangka Island once when I was, I don't know, very young, maybe 12 or 13 or 14, I'm not sure, but it was a long time ago and I loved it. I really, really loved it. And if you are Indonesian, you might know why Bangka Belitung was so popular even until now. I think if we don't have pandemic now, I think Bangka Belitung is still very popular. One of the most tourist destination to visit, especially local tourists. And actually that's because there was this movie. There was actually a sequel, but there's this movie called Laskar Pelangi, which translated into English as, wait a second, let me think, Rainbow Troops. That sounds ridiculous. I'm so sorry, but it's such a beautiful movie. I was very touched watching that. I watched it on the premiere day with my family on the local cinema. It's just, everything's just so beautiful. I'm not sure if you could watch it on Netflix now or maybe Disney Plus, because I haven't checked that out, but maybe it is. But I think you have to change your region to, I don't know, maybe Indonesia, I don't know, using VPN. But if you could have access to that movie, I highly suggest you to watch that. It's just such a beautiful movie. I just love that movie so much. But anyway, let's just talk about the build. So I decided to build a small family home. It's not like really small, but I will consider this as a like medium small family home. We just have 2 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms, but we have a ton of living rooms, which is insane. Actually, the other living room on the front part of the house, like the one that has a TV, you could change that into another bedroom if you want to. But the only thing that I just realized now that we Indonesians always have the kitchen on the very end of the house, the very back part of the house, if that makes sense. And I placed it on the front. I'm so sorry. I know it's not very realistic, but I just don't have enough resources to build this. I'm so sorry. I know it's just not an excuse, but yeah, I'm so sorry. But anyway, I play tested this house a few times and it works. And by a few times means later on I placed this kind of a like wood plank thingy debug thing from Island Living. And since it's a debug items, it's kind of tricky to work with. So sometimes it works. I mean, sometimes your sim can just walk past through it and it won't affect anything. But sometimes it will affect your sim's like activities. So I tried to play test it as, and my sims couldn't get to the house, like the deck part of the house. It was very frustrating, but I fixed it. And actually it took me like a solid 2 almost 3 hours just to fix that part, because I have to place that area or that wood thingy one by one, and I scaled that down. And also I have to do this kind of like a layering portion, which I do not have the footage, but actually I do have the earlier footage of me kind of like trying to build that, or trying to place that on the like above ground, if that makes sense, or right above the water, if that makes sense. So later on I moved the first story to the second story and the roofing part to the third story, if that makes sense. So it's kind of like a floating situation over here, because the house is actually floating in real life, and it's really floating because I found a lot of pictures of this house floating. I mean, not this house, but the real house floating. So I know it's not very realistic, but it's kind of reminds me a tiny bit with my Oma Joglo one because of the like roofing part. But actually one of the articles that I read said that this house was previously built for the royals. So back then on the very, very olden days, Indonesia was a monarch, but we have a ton of kingdoms around the country. So that's why we have this kind of a like, this was built for royals and this for just like normal people. That's the tiny bit of the history, but that's basically wrapped up everything, even though now we're not a monarch anymore. So yeah, things change. And anyway, let's just talk about the build. So actually I did a hard time to fill out the whole deck area because we have so much space, like empty space, and I couldn't figure out how to like fill them because I just want them to look nice. At least they look like filled in. But I decided to put a ton of seating space. I actually have a kind of like a board game table thing over there, and also I put this easel later on, which I don't have the footage on, but you will see that in the screenshots as well on the tour video, which I will post maybe 2 days from now or 3 days from now, I'm not sure, but you will see it later on. And actually I wasn't really sure if this is good enough, but I'm posting it anyway because I don't have any time left to work with this build. And since I was procrastinating too much before I built this, yeah, that's why I don't have that much time left. So I'll post this anyway. And please let me know, do you like it or do I have to improve something? Because I love your feedbacks. It helps me to grow and become better. So anyway, we're just finishing up the whole space with landscaping. The like mailbox thing is actually kind of blended with the debug mailboxes from Island Living. I think it's such a cute debug item from Island Living. It's one of my most favorite, especially when I built this kind of like a more traditional rundown builds. I just love that debug mailboxes a lot. And we also have this swing set on the front because I don't know how to fill the like sandy area of this build. And yeah, actually your Sims have to swim to the side part of the house. I put a ton of like open ladders on this build, like 3 or 4 maybe, which is a lot, but we don't have anything on the front because since this is a raft house, like floating raft house, the way you travel from or to this house in real life is by boat, like actual boats. So that's why I put that sled boat, not sled boat, but like sled thingy from Snowy Escape. I think it's the closest sled I could find in game that really close to what we have in real life. So yeah, it's not like exactly the same, and I couldn't like rotate it like a little bit using tool because it's a debug, and sometimes debug items are not working properly with tool. It's not because the mods, it's because it's debug. So anyway, we are actually getting closer to the end of the speed build. I just have to place this wood thingy. Is that wood? I don't know, but wood thingy all over the build. And actually after this I still have to place a ton of like debugs to fix everything because it wasn't functional by this time, but by that time I placed that, but now it's all functional. I play test everything. So if you want to download this build, this actually has been up on the Sims 4 gallery. You could find it under my EAID, which is elfathiera, or under the hashtag plummysims. You could also click the link in the description box below to bring you to the website gallery, as well as the other link to grab the tray files from Sim File Share, and I linked them to Ko-fi, so you don't have like a ton of links on the description box below, but I will put every single participants on this collab. Thank you so much for Bullet Sim or Mbak Ayu. She's the host of this collab. I will put every single participants on the description box below in case you want to check them out, which I highly suggest you, especially if you're Indonesian. But I really hope you did enjoy this video, and if you do, please make sure to hit the thumbs up button. Also make sure to be subscribed to the channel if you haven't already, and if you want to, you could also ring the bell so you'll be notified every single time I upload a new video. I'm going to wrap this voiceover right now. Thank you so much for joining me today and supporting my channel.